Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I get a lot of questions about where to kind of start with writing orchestral music. Um, Really just it's a very daunting thing to kind of look at what libraries to purchase, what's a good bang for your buck, what libraries to kind of avoid, what are considered professional libraries, that sort of thing. So today we're going to talk about kind of a library that I think most people have probably heard of that are interested in this, and it's also just a great starting point for really anybody that wants to get into orchestral writing. Um, and this can be um, the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So this library, the core edition, I believe is around 400, maybe $500 USD. I believe it's actually 399 though. But they also have what's called a BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover, which is actually free. And you get a little snippet of all these sections here. And they also have a professional version. The only difference between the core and professional version is the professional is going to include more articulations, right? So each one of these is going to come with 3 pages of articulations. Professional, I think, adds, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe. Um, but I mean, core is just really good. I mean, it just kind of contains everything you really need. I'll give a little quick demo of each um, quick section here. So we'll start with the first violins. Right, there you go. So versatile. You can do so much with it. It's a very warm sound compared to the other library we'll be talking about. Very warm, very rich. Let's check out the violas next. Again, I personally don't use the violas personally. It's just not my style. Here's the cello. Very warm sounding. Here's the bass. Right, and so forth. So string wise, I actually in this specific um, template here, I mainly use the bass. I love the bass. It's such a great, rich tone. Um, I typically use the other string sections in spiccato or staccato, depending on what I'm doing, because they're really precise and really tight. I'll let it load up here for a second. Come on. There we go. Super precise. I strongly recommend this library. Just the strings just sound so cohesive together. But going into the brass here, and then for the big theme writing, right? Super great. I actually do have their brass loaded up. We got the horns and then trombones. That's all I got from here. I don't use the woodwinds much. Their timpani sounds great. Right? And I use their piate as well quite often, which is in their untuned percussion. Alright, it's a great library. It's not a super in-depth showcase. Spitfire Audio has a full walkthrough of it to kind of look at everything. Just my opinion, I don't use it a ton. I used to use it a lot, but since then I've kind of acquired other sample libraries in the process. So continuing focusing, let's just focus mainly on strings here. Like what is the best string library out there? We played a sample from the BBC Symphony Orchestra's string section. Let's move on to with the CSSS or CSS, excuse me. So this is the Cinematic Studio series. If you watch the videos, I use this library religiously, the brass as well as their woodwinds. Here is their cello, for example. Compared to BBC's Symphony Orchestra, it's so much more. The BBC Symphony Orchestra's strings, to me, has such an added warmth, and it's great for a lot of things. But when you just want something to kind of not sound dry in a sense, but you just want the kind of raw sound, Cinematic Studios strings is going to be where it's at. Right? Very bold, very raw. Let's go back here and put the same thing. There's kind of a it plays with kind of a hum that naturally plays with the instrument, and that natural hum isn't in Cinematic Studio. Let's go for the violin. This should be actually, let me just show you the interface here. This is the interface that you get, the articulations that you get. Downside of Cinematic Studio, you're not going to get nearly as many articulations as you would with the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So they also have a low latency and expressive legato mode. I'll judge on the legato speed, the mod wheel here. So I don't put it on expressive because then I feel then whenever you're writing it in, it can seem like it's going to be delayed. So like say you start on bar 14, the sound may not come in until like actually there, and it's pretty delayed. It really is. Um, Here's just the first violins. Staccatos. You can also go higher in BBC Symphony Orchestra. That C was the highest note you can play. Violas. The violas is, in my opinion, the best violas that are on the market, section-wise. So rich, so warm. Comparing that to the BBC Symphony Orchestra's violas, you have that kind of buzz there, which is great for a lot of writing. But for example, if you have a piece that you're writing where it's more somber, the BBC Symphony Orchestra is going to kind of cater towards that naturally compared to this, which is more raw sounding. It's more of just the sound of the instrument, not necessarily, there's not nearly as much room, one, in the hall that is recorded, and two, it's not as, I guess you could call it, intimate. Not to say this cinematic studio is emotionless, it just allows you to kind of, you just have the raw sound. It's more I guess it's more versatile in my opinion. Um, Sticking with strings, we'll talk about harps. Um, One second. The BBC Symphony Orchestra does have a harp. It's not my personal favorite harp. It does the job, it gets it done. But personally, Science Studios harp, flawless in my opinion. I mean, it's just, especially here if we turn that up, if you want to have that more close mic feel. So there's so much. It's so I want to write a heart piece now. It's instant inspiration. It is just it's just so flawless. Moving on to solo instruments here. I don't use a ton of solo instruments, but a solo cello to me can improve a piece in so many different ways. It's just part of this template. This is just through Musea, which is a paid subscription. And you can see here, I'll go back. Oh, my mouse is acting crazy. There we go. This is kind of everything you get with it. You get a ton of stuff. I think I paid like $70 for a whole year, or something like that, on a sale. So I mean, it's very cheap. It's gonna save you a ton of money. It's a great thing to just kind of jump in because you get a bit of everything. World percussion, world instruments, keys, woodwinds, brass, strings, solo instruments. You even come down here a little bit more. Guitars, drum machines, synthesizers, soundscapes. Yeah, I mean, just a ton of stuff. But here is and you could buy this cello on its own, but it's hundreds of dollars. The Tina Gual, she has a whole collection. There's three of them on here: electric cello, Tina Gual, just solo cello, and then acoustic cello. So here, I don't know if I hope I'm not butchering her last name. I think it's Guo or Guo maybe. Here's a solo cello. Oh, definitely not the solo cello. I don't think there's a better one out there personally. Um, I also have the ceremonial quartet solo cello and solo that's the solo violin that I do use if I do have a solo violinist part. That cello is great too, but this cello to me just has everything you need. The emotions, it's so playable. Right, there's no added effects on this, so right out of the box, it's just so playable. Let's talk about Berlin series. Um, the Berlin series to me, I, I I bought it. It's incredibly. This is a professional library. It was like 500 something dollars just for the strings. Um, and Cinemax Studios as well is about I think 400 or 500 each per section. So it's your string, brass, woodwinds is all gonna be $500. Here's the Berlin Symphonic strings. I don't use the legato at all. I don't. I think it's not even comparable to the libraries we talked about so far. It's nothing against this library. I think it's actually a great library for chordal writing, for writing just chord progression, having just chords in certain sections to just kind of beef it up. Um, and that's exactly what I use it for. Um, so besides this, and just kind of getting started with the strings, kind of expanding now. If I were to kind of list off a couple libraries that I would think about, so the BBC Symphony Orchestra is definitely one to just jump right into. It's easy to learn. This interface is easy. You can immediately start to write music. It's inspiring. It has a bit of everything you need, from percussion all the way to woodwinds. It even now does have a piano that you can buy separately. It's right here actually. I don't have I don't actually have my actual pedal connected to my keyboard. Oof. You're wrong. I'm gonna try that. Jeez. It's actually a great piano, and I used it a long time before I got the 300 grand, which is my primary piano that I use. Which I love it. Um, it's just the BBC Symphony Orchestra just has everything you need. It's easy to get into, easy to use. It is just a great all-around library that whether you're a beginner or maybe you've been writing music your whole life and you just haven't picked it up yet, pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed with it. Um, Second library, that's a great entry point. The BBC Symphony Orchestra is a great entry point because of one of two things. One, it's a solid library, easy to learn. It's a great introduction part or introduction library into Spitfire's whole catalog. Um, Second, there is the Discover mode, which is free, which is great if you can't afford it because it is pricey. I mean, the core edition, I could be wrong. I think it's $400 or $500. I could be wrong, but I do know Spitfire had a sale that's like 30% off um, for new users. Also, if you're a student or educator, you also get a certain percentage off as well. Um, Next, let's talk about the second libraries. So, say you have money's not an issue, right? For instance, and you want to kind of get the professional sounding libraries right out of the gates. I would recommend this. I'm not sure what happened there. My mic just kind of cut out there. Sorry about that. What I was saying was, if you have all the money, money's not an issue. I would recommend the Cinematic Studio series. The woodwinds, brass, and strings. Um, you will get less articulations. Overall, you're going to get less control in terms of like mic positions and stuff like that. However, the actual sound is so alive feeling. Um, if we go back to the Cinematic Studios here, they have, which I've never seen in any other library, they have this marcato, which right, that's in a lot of libraries, but they have a spiccato overlay, which means you can kind of just play it as if you're playing the instrument, or how it would be written if a violinist is reading on sheet music, how they would play quarter notes that aren't dotted, right, with staccato or spiccato, right? And you can hear it here. That was what really sold it to me. Every instrument's going to get that marcato articulation with the spiccato overlay. It is so inspiring for sketching out something, right? Because of course you're going to want to go through and whether you're using key changes down in the bottom left or the bottom right or the top right of a keyboard to switch between articulations, or whether you're going in there and just or you create several, like I'm kind of lazy to do key changes, so I just create several instances of the same instrument and just go legato, spiccato, pizzicato, whatever I need. Um, of course, you're going to have to go through and kind of separate it, but just when you have an idea and you can hear it in your head, but you can't quite differentiate, figure out where it needs to be, which is one single instrument that's on legato, and you can't figure out where you're going to place your spiccato or staccato notes in the melody, you can just choose this articulation and just write it exactly how you hear it in your head. And that's huge. For me, that was a game changer because it just makes that so much easier and kind of more inspiring to just sit down and be able to just go, okay, right, I'm going to write like this, boom. And then go through there and then figure out, okay, those parts were staccato, this part's legato, then let's figure out the key changes and let's get it all sorted out. And then it makes the process more simpler. It allows you to be more free with your ideas, less restriction. Um, so that's kind of like I mean, BBC Symphony Orchestra is a great introduction if you're looking for just, biggest bang for your buck, a full orchestra. However, Cinematic Studios series, they also have a solo instrument series that I personally do not own. Um, it is way more expensive, but it's a professional library. You're going to get high quality sounds, um, And I just think overall they're both great libraries. I use them both every single time I write music. There's tons of other stuff that I have. Orchestral, like you guys saw the Berlin Symphony strings, or symphonic strings, great strings, but I wouldn't recommend that as a first library pickup. There's the Metropolis Arc series, Metropolis Arc 1 specifically. If you're into kind of writing just action-packed music, Metropolis Arc 1 is great. I have that library and specifically I use their horns a lot, pretty much their whole brass section, and then I'll throw in their strings as well. If you guys watched, if you're following along with the video that we're writing kind of that Avenger track together. I use Metropolis Arc quite a lot in that. You see it on here with Abbey Road, the percussion here. Abbey Road 1 is also a great introduction library. It's got everything you need. This epic brass patch and these epic woodwinds. They're not actually called that. They just sound pretty epic if you listen here. Very epic. Is this the same? Yeah, all the same thing. Um, and here I just play the low woodwinds as well. So Abbey Road 1, British or BBC Symphony Orchestra, great introduction point um, into just kind of getting into orchestral writing. If you want to go the step further, money's not an issue. The Cinematic Studio series is going to be, in my opinion, kind of like the killer libraries that it's gonna be huge for realism, for control, um, and getting that professional quality sound. Not saying that the other libraries can't do that, because they're very much. I use every library that I've talked about today. I use almost every time I write music, um, and maybe I'll do a second part of this, which I definitely will actually, and I'll talk about. Um, I'll go more in depth about these libraries. Maybe we'll do like little reviews about them. Maybe not necessarily walkthroughs, but just like little nice snippets of me. Maybe what I do next time, I will just we'll pick, for example, Abbey Road 1, because that is just an introduction library, and we'll write like a little, I don't know, minute and a half long little piece, and we can just like choose a random genre and go ahead and do that. Uh, but yeah, so I hope that you guys kind of learned something about where to start with orchestral writing, because it can be a pretty daunting experience, and it really can. A good shout out actually. I don't have the library downloaded. It was my first library I bought that was not free. It's called Nucleus by Audio Imperia. I have their choir called Chorus. Great vocal library. But Nucleus is also a great library to look at. I actually don't have it downloaded, so I can't give you guys a quick look at it. Just go on Audio Imperia's website and look at it. It's a great library. You get everything from strings, brass, winds, percussion, to even a choir. Um, and you also get, I think, pretty sure like some soundscapes as well in there to help you kind of formulate kind of a bit of everything that you need to really write a track. So I think our next video will actually just be choosing one full-on library that includes everything. And when I mean everything, I mean a full orchestra plus percussion. Um, Minus the percussion is in not just a timpani and piatti, like an actual like snare, toms, that type of thing, which Abbey Road 1 includes all of that. And we'll just try like a quick little minute and a half piece. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys learned where to start out, and I wish you the best of luck with finding whatever libraries that you're needing to find. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will 100% answer them for you guys. Yep, I will catch you guys later. Have a great night.